What's going on, guys? It's Team from Wafflypie, and we're back from our Kerbal Space program. In the last episode, we sent up a bus for the big old box, and found out that the way that it was built was actually a little bit not so good, because it would just fire against the surface of the box, and I didn't account for that when I built it. So we have sent up this other version now, which is much bigger, and it can fire past the box. So I'm going to go ahead and deorbit this now that we don't need it. Set all of the engines up to max thrust, or max thrust capacity, and that is it, and we have enough fuel. So let's go retrograde and fire. And our orbital speed is going up. That's not right. Oh yeah, geez. Yeah, something's wrong here. Oh god, we really messed that one up and burned almost all the fuel. And you know why that is? It's because of these the two command modules. It reset itself when I came back when I took control of it again. So yeah, I have to prograde to the one that I'm controlling right now, because it's the way that works. Yeah, this thing, the orbit's way too far there, and there's nowhere near enough fuel to fix that. So we are just going to have to switch back and forget about this thing forever. And as for this, I'm gonna have to get back there and dock it, so. And we're there. So that took a little longer than I expected it to. But now we have to finish fixing this orbit. And so what I have done a little bit already was I've sent in one or two of these and gone and have them burn. So I'm gonna need this equatorial reference, and that says 11.5 degrees, so that is how I'm going to be fixing it, and I need that to be 0. Kind of tough to see when it happens, because the ascending node is kind of fidgety, especially when you're dealing with an orbit around a planet like Kerbin. And so you kind of just have to ease it on and get it right onto that 0.0. One 0.0, so that's good. Except then when you do a plane correction, it messes with the with the thrust. Okay. So turns out that this ship doesn't like it when you play with time acceleration a whole lot. So what ended up happening is I've almost got it, and this is hours past, because this this orientation of the bus is not super. and it could only burn for a couple seconds before going off kilter, but it really sucks because we're just now almost on the equatorial orbit, and we need to detach that, and oh, it hit. It doesn't look like anything on the box is hurt though, so that's good. Yeah, just the engine is what blew up there. But like, I don't know why. What caused that? Just some phantom forces or something? Oh, it gets really aggressive the more you accelerate. Like, look at the girders are like bending all over the place. And like stuff is flying off like kilometers per second. Well, not relative to this, but oh, it lost an arm. Oh, they're like splitting apart. So I finally got one attached. As you can see, it really does not like to be accelerated. And so we're making the moon transfer. And the only problem with that is that it is a little off center. And I didn't quite have the time to adjust that before the maneuver. So we're going to have to fire like this. I might be able to pick it up a little bit. Oh. I see. Just as long as it doesn't go up all at once, it's fine. Oh, the RCS definitely had something to do with it. Unfortunately, I don't think that this is going to have quite enough fuel. Which sucks because it's going to put it in a position where it's going to be really hard to get to. Because see what I can bleed off of whatever is remaining with the RCS here. But this might be a bit of a problem because we have a moon periups of just over 1 million meters. And I'm going to see, let's make that a little sooner. I'm going to see if I can adjust that at all. $74. 84. 46. Actually, it doesn't need to be all that big because with what's left in this, I'm pretty much only going to need to get it into a stable orbit around the moon. Although I'm not even sure if I'll be able to do that. It's definitely going to be tricky. Now we're looking at a fuel budget. So we want this as close as possible. A 9-second burn. I'm not sure how quickly these things use fuel, so we might end up having to go into the RCS. That is in a 3-day window from now, which kind of makes all the maneuvering I did before look like no time at all. Although it did take several days in total. Let's see if we can pull this off here. 3, 12, 11, 10, 9. Oh yeah, we should be able to do it here. Things only take 7 per second, so well within the range that we needed here. Oh, but we're still not quite in an orbit. So I guess it was just a bunch of lies. And now, I guess we could just burn off the rest of it. Because there's no way we're landing with this. Huh. We actually got it in a pretty decent orbit, and there's still fuel to spare. And that is it. We somehow have leftover oxidizer somewhere. And I did transfer some of the fuel earlier into a lower stage, but I brought it back. So I don't know how we generated oxidizer out of that, but I guess we did. So now I can decouple this here, undock it. These things love to wobble for whatever reason. Oh, no, wrong way. And then with the RCS, let's just see if we can deorbit it, which I doubt we'll be able to, but we can try. I'll go ahead and put this in acceleration to get the maximum time saving. Ooh, that advanced SES makes it pretty easy to control. Oh, and it's still under time acceleration. That makes sense. Four, three, two, one, and we didn't. Oh, actually, we did. Oh, this thing's gonna crash. So we can leave the box to stay there, and you can watch this then. What is that set as a target? Oh, it's not the boxes, I see. Box plus 3. Oh, hey, surface. Looks like we're gonna land in that big crater over there. Oh. And the textures. Look at this thing go. 600 meters per second relative to the surface. And that's what that looks like. Oh, there it goes. Bam. Did some? No, nothing survived. It disintegrated immediately. Well, I'm glad to be done with that. Now all we need to do is land the box. Oh, 666 meters per second as we crash. The instant we crash. Does that say something? Liftoff. Separation of stage 1 confirmed. Crashed into the moon. So, now we send another one up. Except this time we're going to need a bit of a tougher launch. Because we're getting it to the moon, not into an orbit. I'll go ahead and dock and I'll meet you guys then. Okay. So we got a new one on. And we're going to be doing with this one, I think this is just going to be another course or plane correction. Because we have a bit of an eccentric orbit. And we're at difficult plane. This bug's been happening a lot. You can't set up maneuvers for some reason sometimes. Is it fixed now? Yeah, okay. So let's go ahead and bring the periups down, which is, of course, most efficient at apoapse. And I'm thinking like 10,000, a little more. No, other way. 1,000 seems good. That puts us quite a ways above the mountains, so not much of an issue there. And then I don't think I've ever done this on camera before, but you can set up like a secondary maneuver that happens after you finish your first one. And it just kind of saves you the time if you have to do more than one. But I'm just bringing it down like right, skimming the surface here. And that way it's going to take the least amount of fuel to land. I doubt that there's going to be enough fuel in this to land, so I'm probably going to have to send up a third one. So. And we're gonna make the burn here. Just kind of, I don't want it to spin out of control again. That would really suck. And we're a bit ahead of the timer too, so we'll wait that time. And then you just click it off and it goes right to the next one. Click it off. Come on. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so. Okay, so. Here. This is after I've come and waited all the way till the maneuver. And I'll show you guys in a sec. I just gotta reorient it a little. Just make it perfect. So, it just looked like it was in the surface there for a second. So this, we have a good 10-kilometer orbit, pretty much circular around the moon. And this is going to put us in a pretty good position to adjust the plane so that we transit right over the landing site. And so to give a good frame, let's do another equatorial one. Okay, so in 5 minutes, we are going to take this burn, and that'll put us in a nice position to coast right over the landing site. And then after that, we're just going to need to send up a refuel, and then we'll be good to land. Now, the thing about this mission is that I've launched way more satellites, or not satellites, but way more just modules, I suppose, than even like the space station or anything else. And this is probably the longest thing that I've ever done in this game. Ooh, that was pretty loud. But this, like, it's definitely very hard to land an asymmetric, well, it's not super asymmetric, but like a irregular shape by a Skycrane onto the moon. It's definitely not a cakewalk. It's definitely not easy. Yeah, but that orbit looks pretty good. Let's unset that. So we're gonna have to wait for the moon to rotate a couple times, because obviously if we just let it go right now, it wouldn't. We wouldn't land there. We wouldn't land where we want to. So let's undock this old one. And let's just put it in a little parking orbit here. Flip it around. Ooh, careful not to touch that. It touched. Okay, nothing a little time warp won't fix, but let's just crash this into the moon. It served its purpose, and it has nowhere near enough fuel left. Oh, oh, great. And again, we've launched it the wrong way. I'm going to have to remember the next time I make a bus to, or that docking ports have a control from here option and I don't need 2 command modules. Because it is not fun when that happens. I do think that it will have enough fuel though, and we're pretty low on the moon, and we should have a high specific impulse to land us crashed into the moon with this. Yeah, you can see the camera go crazy. That means that we've entered suborbital. That's pretty much it. I'm going to leave a little bit of it. I'm going to see if we can land this. Now, I mean, it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to land this thing with 40 units of fuel as the box whizzes by. If I can do it, then it's definitely going to be a load off my mind for the Skycrane landing. So let's get that into position, point it retrograde, and yeah, we're pointing the correct way this time. Let's start to burn. Yeah, there's nowhere near enough fuel. This thing is going to be space dust. I'll try to soften it as much as I can with RCS, but I doubt that there's going to be much left of this. Because we're coming in at 200 meters per second relative to the surface. And there it goes. Hey, something survived though. I'll probably speed that up, but that was the new pinning mechanic. So this is the refueler. Ooh. Makes a very vacuumed noise. And so this thing, well, it's the refueler and the bus. I sent another bus up, realized that I wasted a lot of fuel getting it up, and then sent a little thing full of fuel on. And this thing, it should have relatively full fuel tanks once I get up there, once I rendezvous. And then I'll have the maximum amount of fuel to land. Okay, so I think it's time. We are in position, we have the moon all rotated. Let's kick it up to high gear and make a burn that puts us relatively close. It doesn't have to be super good, but we just want it fuel efficient right now. That's all we're really worried about. We just need to land with as little fuel used as possible. So I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach because of that. And so where normally I would take a pretty steep, pretty shallow entry, and then burn all at once, and then have a straight vertical up and down falling trajectory. This time I'm going to do it a little bit differently, where I almost come in at like sideways, and then make it vertical just before I hit the ground, because I've heard that is the most fuel efficient way to do it. So as far as I can tell, you're supposed to burn at like tiers, and you saw I burned at 10,000 and 6,000. So let's burn again at 5,000 and bring the surface speed down to regular intervals. And we're down to 4,500 and burn again. And I think that we're pretty close to the ground now, so we should just bring it almost all the way down, and then now we're going to make it vertical. So you see that. I'd have to see a side by side, but it definitely seemed like it took a lot less fuel. It was not just a minute straight of burning, so it was definitely good, and it's also a lot easier when you're just setting it down too. And also, now that I know not to just mash X when you're coming down, it should make the drop off a little easier, because this is how you do Skycranes. You get your undock ready, and in theory you're supposed to drop it while you're in the air, so I'll see if I can do that, because this thing's tires have pretty high durability. Oh, okay, or we can just not have a shadow, and let's just get that out. We need it far away so it doesn't crash. So I noticed that this thing had quite a bit of fuel left in it, and so I figured why not land this too. And I wanted to get it right in the middle of this crater, just so that it didn't look a little weird. And bring that nice down. Let's try not to lift off twice again. And so set it down. That looks relatively in the middle. It should be fine. And let's go ahead and rename this to, what's a good name? Triple landing Skycrane. And let's make that a lander. Yeah, a lander. And, oops, I hit cancel. Okay, I'll go back and fix that. But in the more important part of this, we need to go and get back to the box. Because that's what the mission is. We're getting the box over there. So it's quite a far distance that we went here. So let's go ahead and switch over. Or we can't. So let's use the map view as it says. Okay, so we're finally on the moon. We have the box, and I think that we're good to go. The wheels are not going forward. I need to turn on all the wheels and get them set up. So until then, I'll go ahead and take the box and drive it all the way out there. And that'll be the next episode. So until then, this has been Dean from Wafflypie, and I will see you guys next time.